Have you ever stopped to think about how think? How does something from out there in the world get in here, into your mind, and then come back out as something you can share? Today, we're going to trace that exact journey, from seeing to knowing to sharing. It's going to be a wild ride.
So let's start with this. Just for a second, really try to imagine it. A world with no color. No bright green grass, no brilliant blue sky, just shades of gray. This one question gets right to the heart of what we're talking about, because it shows you just how much we depend on our senses to build the reality we live in every single day.
So, to make sense of this, we're going to break it down. Think of it like a computer. First, you've got the input. That's all the raw data our senses are collecting. Then you've got the processing. That's our brain working its magic on that data. And finally, the output, which is how we share what we've experienced with everyone else.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. The input. This is all about sensation. It's the first point of contact between you and the universe. It's the raw, unfiltered stream of information hitting your body.
All sensation really is your body's hardware doing its job. You know, your eyes grabbing photons of light, your ears picking up vibrations in the air, your skin registering pressure. At this stage, there's no meaning yet. It's not about understanding what you're seeing or hearing. It's just about receiving the signal.
And speaking of hardware, just look at the human eye. It's basically a super advanced biological camera. Light comes in, it gets focused, and it hits the retina in the back. And that's where the magic starts, turning that pure light energy into a neural signal that your brain can actually begin to understand.
And you know, what's absolutely wild is just how ridiculously sensitive this hardware is. I mean, look at this. These are what scientists call absolute thresholds. Basically, the tiniest signal you can possibly detect. You can see a candle from 30 miles away. You can feel a bee's wing fall on your cheek. That's insane. Our bodies are constantly collecting just a staggering amount of data from the world.
So, okay, the data is in. Now we get to the really interesting part. What does our brain do with it all? This is stage 2, the processor. This is where your brain takes over and starts to make sense of everything.
And here's the key difference. Perception isn't just seeing, it's understanding. It's your brain acting like a master editor, taking all that raw sensory footage and actively selecting, organizing, and interpreting it to create your own personal movie of reality. Sensation is the raw data. Perception is the finished film.
All right, time for a little test. I want you to look at these two horizontal lines. Don't think too hard, just go with your first impression. Which one looks longer to you? The one on top or the one on the bottom? You probably have an answer right away. Okay, ready for the reveal? They are exactly the same length. Go ahead, you can measure them. This is a classic illusion. The little arrows on the ends are fooling your brain. So think about what just happened. The sensation, the raw data of two identical lines hitting your eyes was totally accurate, but your perception, your brain's interpretation of that data, it got it wrong. And that is the huge takeaway here. Our brains aren't just passively recording the world like a camera. No, they're actively building it, using clues and shortcuts and past experiences to make a guess about what's out there. And get this, some studies show that people who grew up in cultures without a lot of straight, sharp-cornered buildings are actually less fooled by this illusion. The very world you grow up in can literally shape how you perceive things.
Okay, so we've taken in data through sensation, and we've processed it into our own unique perception. But what about sharing it? How do we get that experience out of our heads and into someone else's? That brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the output, and that is powered by language.
I love this question because it gets right to the point. A parrot can copy the sounds you make, for sure, but is it actually talking? Not really. See, true language isn't just mimicry. It's about using a shared set of symbols, words, to communicate the incredibly complex perceptions we've just built inside our minds.
And what's just absolutely amazing is how fast we learn to do this. I mean, the way little kids pick up language is honestly one of the most incredible things the human brain can do.
Look at this number, 7. That's the average number of new words a preschool kid learns. Every single day. Not a week, a day. They're like these little language sponges, just soaking up the world's symbolic code at a rate that is just mind-boggling. Our brains are built for this.
And this phase is so important. It's building the entire foundation for everything that comes later. Reading, writing, even how well you do in school. And it's not a passive thing. It's not just about hearing words. It's about conversation. It's about interaction. That's how we truly learn to share our inner worlds.
All right, now we're at the part where we tie it all together. And this is probably the most profound idea we're going to touch on. We're about to see how language doesn't just describe our reality. In a very real way, it helps create it.
Think about it like this. For many of us, the word is just rice. Simple enough, but if you go to a culture where rice is central to their entire way of life, they might have dozens of different words for it. A word for it in the field, a word for it when it's harvested, cooked, leftover, you get the idea. The language evolves to reflect what's important to the culture.
So, take a second, think about your own language. Maybe it's not rice or snow, but what's something that's really important to your culture? I bet you have a whole rich vocabulary for it that an outsider wouldn't. The words we have reflect what we pay attention to.
And this is the mind-blowing part. Our language gives us a set of mental buckets, or categories. And when we experience the world, we tend to sort our perceptions into these linguistic boxes that are already there. It's not that we can't see something we don't have a word for, but our language definitely influences what we notice in the first place and how we think about it.
And you know, the clearest proof of this deep connection is when the system breaks down. For someone with Broca's aphasia, the output part is damaged. They know what they want to say, but they struggle to get the words out fluently. With Wernicke's aphasia, the link between meaning and output is broken. They can speak fluently, but the words are a jumble that doesn't make sense. It's a heartbreaking reminder of how essential this whole system is.
So, this brings us to our final big question. We all start with the same physical reality hitting our senses, but if our brains interpret that data differently, and if the language we use to label and understand that interpretation is different, does that mean that you and I, in a very real way, are living in slightly different worlds? Something to chew on.